into the jaws of defeat. Zekken has found his slice. Sadek removed, and now confusion. It's a frantic play from Loud. Which direction did it go into? The one-way stopping them. Ults, and the util has to be used now to clear it back through, but the spike's been dropped down, and time against them entirely. Pop flash play, watch for two to stand, and two potentially to fall. 2 years and less together now, tapping it out, but there is no chance, there is no hope. Sentinels, inevitable.
Sentinels win again, and this time it comes on Sunset in a very close final map. So let's take a look at how they did it, and we'll start here with round number 2. And there's a couple things I want to highlight in this round. Sentinels are actually forcing, which I like. But first thing is they're going to get Zekken into this little close corner here. And I want to first just talk about why is Zekken in this close corner? What's he doing there? Well, the thing is, Loud have their defensive Viper wall just here, right? And this is the Viper wall that they commonly will go for. And obviously this Viper wall allows you to, you know, stop people from pushing this, and it's also in B main. So, you know, that's obviously part number 1 of this Viper wall. But also Loud love to go for mid fights, right, across multiple of their maps. And this Viper wall, when you put it up, allows you to then kind of surprise mid-fight, you know, through their side of the wall. But as you can see in Zekken's little corner here, if, for instance, they did Phoenix flash out of this or whatever, you know, Zekken wouldn't get hit in this little angle. So then if, you know, he's hoping to avoid utility and then get a kill off it. Now, this didn't actually come into fruition on this map. It didn't really happen. Loud didn't ever really go for one of those big defensive mid-fights. So it didn't really, you know, lead to anything necessarily, but you can see the idea that they are having. Now, the rest of this round, Sentinels, you know, they kind of foray towards A. You know, we see here they come towards A, but then the call just comes to come B before they actually kind of go anywhere just there, and they are just going to come to B. But what happens kind of later on in this round, I think is what's going to be pretty interesting here from Sentinels, and a bit of a mistake from Sentinels in this particular round, as we shall see. So they come in, they're going to do their little B split just here. You see the Dizzy Flash comes in. They take the site, Loud on in the correct position. We end up going 1 for 1 here. The Shock Dart actually kills Zekken there after the last headshot, but we go 1 for 1, right? And they're going to go and plant the spike. But what happens next is what I'm interested in, because they plant the spike on this close corner just here, and then they all run back into B main. And this idea is becoming more and more popular, and I think is becoming the meta, essentially, of how you play a B post plan, because we're seeing Sentinels do it right here. Loud did it in this game as well, and we've seen teams like G2 and Team Heretics even did it to Sentinels at this very tournament.
It's just a lot of players in one position. Well, they still got Shock Dart here. No one on it, that should be confirmed. Smoke goes back up another tap. Someone's going to have to start committing on these just in case, but they're willing to risk it. But now the defuse going to get started, and Heretics will be doing the damage, but the defuse is still going on. Made to halfway, spams there! Tens, you got a miracle for me now. Not this time, Panitek. Tipping it in their favor in the end, and a flawless.
So why has doing that become the kind of default way of playing the B post plan? Well, there's a couple of reasons for that, right? For instance, in this round, we saw Sen. They came through market, right? But there's no one in market for the post plan, and there's a good reason for that, because if you are playing in market, you essentially have to have someone out here in mid watching the cross just here. But the thing is, if this guy dies, or if they get pushed off for whatever reason, right? Essentially, if they at any point can't cover you here, then playing in market is very, very tough, because otherwise you're just going to get pinched on from 2 different directions. And it's very, very tough to play in this area, just in general, if that's going to be the case, right? So, okay, so market isn't a potential viable option for you to go for. Okay, so where else do you play? Well, obviously, like pushed up angles deep on the site, right? Kind of anywhere, kind of back here. Yeah, you might get like a kill, right? But you're probably going to get traded, you know, as soon as you get that kill, unless you go like full hero mode. So obviously playing like super deep on the site isn't necessarily a bad option from time to time, but you know, it's not gonna necessarily completely win you the round unless you absolutely pop off. Other angles that you might, you know, employ are, you know, angles like down here or by this little corner. But again, it can be difficult in these kind of angles as well if you don't have any market control, right? Because again, you're kind of going to be a bit worried about kind of 2 different directions from, you know, playing in these kind of areas in general. You're going to be worried about people coming down here on you. You're going to be worried about people coming this way. And potentially, again, you're going to get trapped between potentially 2 different angles. And so basically every angle that you kind of go through on this site becomes kind of difficult. And it's just much easier to just play back here, plant the spike on a corner, and just spam it, essentially, because this is just harder to clear out, particularly if your opponents are going to use all of, you know, or not all, but, you know, some of their util to clear out everything else. then that hopefully means that you won't get bombarded with util yourself, and then you can just spam. The problem for Sentinels in this particular round, though, is although that John is going to come and go for a reflank here, and you think that, oh, that might win them the round, the problem is they only have stingers, which obviously not the best gun to be spamming with.
Really want to do this, just with the stingers. It's like an awkward one to try and play into, especially when Kawazin has almost all of his util. A few more seconds left, and he will have the fault line, but there it is. Sends out the aftershock, out wide, forces Celtics, no kill. Paranoia used in response to this one, and a second flash sets them back up with a deep smoke after really forcing Loud to push forwards into this one. A tap onto it again. Stunned up inside the smoke, damage done. Kawazin still lives on 21 health. Defusing now, Sanek onto half. Has to be dealt with, has to be brought down. Sticking it through, and no damage, not enough. Not with the stingers. That's barely scraping through.
Now onto round number 4, where Sen are already 3-0 down, and Tui's has actually gone and bought an operator as well, and he's going to manage to find the first kill by pushing up A.
I mean, 2 years has opted for the operator. There was a deep dart set up earlier, so he's got this deep line down into A. He's going to be giving a lot of mid-round information again to his team. Does have to worry about 1 or 2 of the angles, though. Being swung, but they're not going to expect it. Yeah, look at it.
No way.
Walking straight into it.
So Tui's finds that kill just there, but now I think he's about to make a pretty big mistake. He's going to avoid this Gecko ult pretty well, but there's quite a few different things going on here that I like from Sentinels. The first one is, if we just come back to this Gecko ult, let's talk about taking this A site, right? Because here's the thing that Sentinels do very well, better than a lot of teams. So this Gecko ult is going to come in here, right? They know that this op has got a kill. You know that this op on an Omen is probably going to just run away right here, particularly when he has the Gecko ult, right? So the Gecko ult comes in, and it clears a decent portion of what you need it to clear, right? It clears some of towards this back box here. It clears that angle just there as well, so just back here. So Sentinels at this point, right, the Omen has been pushed up here. He got an op kill, he ran away. It doesn't really make sense for someone to be in elbow at this point, because your Omen was already up here, right? So you already probably would have seen anyone else if they were back there. This Gecko has cleared back here as well now, and kind of, you know, part of the close sight. So Sentinels at this point probably feel like this is a pretty free site, but I just love what Sentinels do with this A site in general, because what often you will see is Tens will not use his Omen Flash to actually take the site. Sentinels recognize that this site is kind of easy enough to take without needing it necessarily, this Omen Flash, and so Tens is able to get himself up on this box. Now, this is one thing that really annoyed me about Loud, is that they got caught off by Tens multiple times on this box, right? Which I'm sure, again, if you're a Sentinels fan and you're watching this video, you will be able to remember multiple times when Tens is on this box, whether he's back here or back here on the defensive side, when he was on this box in here towards Market, where, you know, he won a game from this angle, right? Like, Tens is always on a box on this map, pretty much. He's always trying to TP up high, but Loud got caught out multiple times from this situation. And again, what I love about Sentinels here, though, is that they don't use the Omen Flash, which means that Tens has it for when he knows he needs to use it. Now, he saw Sadek just there, so he knows now is a good time to use it. But sometimes when you watch Sentinels on the site, he saves it for, you know, complete 5v5 postman, right? And he finds a good timing to flash. Because here's the thing. An Omen Flash, whether it's like this, or he did another one in this game where it's like this, right? Either of those Omen Flashes is absolutely insane on this map, right? So if you can save it for a postman or a situation like this where you know it's going to hit someone, it's such an amazing bit of utility to use right there. And what I like about Sentinels is a lot of other teams will, you know, Omen Flash like this or whatever, but Sen know that they don't need to a lot of the time, right? Between the KO and the Gecko Flash coming across, you know, the kind of site like this, they don't need to, and it wins them rounds like Ten does here.
Hey, what is that? Kawazin, he was leaping across. Paranoia. Tap from Tens with the movement, not enough bullets in the end. Still, QCK dropped back to 30 health. Now, heal himself back up. Could play into this one with the ult. Might even choose to do so. See if it makes a real difference here. But Sassy does have his ult back online. Picks up from Pryor, and here it is. The second round of things. Thrash. Spawn. Broken to pieces. Clear the close left corner, but still. Who does want to just try and take a fight there. John QT tucked as well. A lot to clear in this spot, and just walking right over him, QCK. There's that trade with the pop flash now. In and out and through, but still with a util in his hands, caught lacking and slacking.
Another quick thing I just want to briefly touch on for Sentinels as well is how active they are in post plants, because this is something that's going to come up in a couple of rounds later as well. So Wingman plants a spike right there, right? And we've instantly got Zelsis looking to maybe try and push that, or at least fake to push that, and, you know, kind of almost create a bit of a bait maybe for John. The Gecko ult goes, you know, in towards CT just there, and what Zelsis is doing, he's following it up, right? So we've ended up, you know, in very aggro kind of post plant here with Zelsis, you know, really pushing and kind of giving them that information that, yeah, both these players are coming from this direction here, which obviously makes it a lot easier for, you know, the other two Sentinel players. We can use, you know, the mosh pit here to buy some time, you know, create a bit of a bait there for John whilst we're making noise from elsewhere. We, you know, then we're moving again as Sassy's moving about, and we just end up in a very active kind of post plant. You know, had Sassy, if he loses this fight here, do you expect that Zelsis is going to come all the way from behind you? Probably not. Okay, round number 8 now, and for this one, Sentinels are actually going to go for this deep push, kind of going for an A split essentially. There's a couple things that go on in this round. Sentinels, these two here, John and Sassy, just seem to be on a bit of a different page. You see that Sassy's going to actually end up running back here, and by the time he comes back up and flashes, it's just a bit too late for John. But I do like what Loud do here, these two players, Kawanzine and QCK, that they kind of focus and realize that they need to fight forward, you know, rather than trying to deal what's going on with behind. So I do like what they do, and Sentinels, you know, it is difficult obviously to go for this idea in general, and you know, you got to get some things right. Sentinels don't quite manage to get there, and so Loud end up in a 1v4.
To build up towards the Phoenix ult. Second and 10s are looking to try to explore mid again. They haven't done this in a while.
Hello, ult to try and fake the presence over towards A, maybe even pin to some of these players. And yeah, they're just barreling all the way through into mid as a nade. Watched it. Zeltis still here. John QT though, they're just trying to dominate this one. This one singular position. They do control A main. It's throwing a bit of chaos into the mix. In through the back of the side, just spots the elbow. Just spots the elbow and tens. Looking this way, that way. Didn't know where the players are going to be coming from. Sassy, last one left.
We've ended up in a 1v4 that's now become a 1v3, and Sassy, you know, he doesn't do anything particularly special. He's just going to run back and run to A, probably thinking, I'll just get the spike down, you know, get some creds, you know, get an ult orb, like, whatever, you know, we'll see what happens. But he ends up coming over towards A. There is one little particular detail I just want to highlight here, though, the way that he plays it, because Loud eventually are going to just, you know, they stick around for a bit, and then they just start to drift to B as the time kind of comes across there. Sassy, it looks like he's going to take a fight, but this is the little detail I want to point out. Notice with Wingman here, he doesn't plant the spike like here, right? He plants it far away, and he gets quite far away. And what that means is that as Wingman is running right here, it gives Sassy even more time before the big spike plant noise comes out. It gives him even more time to push CT. So this I thought was a bit of a clever little detail here from Sassy.
Separate individuals, maybe he could get something done. He doesn't have to be anywhere near the plant. Everyone on Loud is so grouped.
They're going to make mistakes. They don't think he's there on the angle in time. He's caught himself into the 1 versus 2. Also online here for Sadek, but he doesn't really find the time to use it, but the dart reveals all. Sassy has to pull off an absolute miracle. 5 HP drop down, backing away. Now wide and sprayed them through. Sassy!
So Sassy with a once-in-a-lifetime play there, winning a 1v3 that was actually a 1v4 to begin with, and surely that's never happened to Loud ever before on Sunset when they've played against Sentinels, and particularly Sassy playing Gecko. Right?
Is it different? Do you let him get it down and get the ults that way? Loud's going to be able to circulate these ults in the next few rounds. Sassy gets the plant, and beautiful that he can work off of it with Wingman here. Thrash is available. If this goes down, Sassy may go all out.
That would be such a gamble, but look at him.
It would be.
He's going to hear all of these rotate, so he's trying to get an angle. He's trying to get a surprise attack. Here's that first jump spot. Here's 2 crossing over. The third one already made it through. So Sassy now has a timing. Behind the 3 players allowed, rotating across. There's a snake bite towards main. Now it's being watched. There's and he will have all the kit left now on his Gecko kit. The mosh pit going down, forced to halfway, out of position now. Les falls away. There's that Thrash coming out too from the front of the pillar, and Les even has to pull back towards the market. It does not hit him though, but that clock is ticking down. Sassy's getting hunted across, runs away for the time, gets it done, and Sassy wins a 3-on-1 against Loud.
Okay, now let's skip ahead to round number 19. So we swap sides now, and let's start with this one here, where we're going to get Sentinels here with 3 players towards A, right? We got our KO, Gecko, and our Ray. So you're expecting, you know, that they're probably going to be somewhat aggressive here. And you see with the flashes that they're throwing out that they're at least kind of showing somewhat that, yeah, we're being aggressive here. Now, eventually what's going to happen is Sen try and figure out what exactly is going on in this half. You see we got a pretty passive Cypher setup over towards B with Tens just chilling back here as well. The Dizzy flash goes up. That actually does flash one person just there, but only one person. Sen perhaps are looking for more, and perhaps, you know, again, they feel like they've shown enough here on A to perhaps dissuade Loud from just, you know, walking in towards A. Then they see this smoke just here, but because John has his camera here on this back wall, obviously they can kind of know that, you know, no one is actually pushed up just here as well. And so now they're going to go for a bit of a mid fight, which ends up kind of going back and forth and not that great besides Zekken's nade.
Scared of mid, and they're not scared of market because John's utility is still there.
Right inside the smoke. I mean, they're setting up for a pop flash play here. Yep, they can hear it. The door being broken down. They're going to try and fight Tooth and Nail for control of it. The nade down. How does Zekken get two? That is ridiculous.
But at this point, Loud have seen the Raze throw a nade in towards mid, and they've killed the Gecko and the KO with the two agents they saw towards A, so they make a pretty easy call here just to, you know, go towards A because they'd seemingly seen or killed everyone who was over towards this side of the map. So you see, in they come towards this A site just here, but what we're going to focus on again is the post plant just here, because Loud, they take the site, right? They get the site, and I want you to contrast this to what we see with what Sentinels do quite often, because Sadek's going to drone out, right? And obviously Loud don't quite know that Sentinels, you know, were sticking over towards B and kind of just gambling that, you know, they were going to still come towards B, and they don't quite know how much space they actually have. And so when Sadek goes for this drone just here, you know, he doesn't see anyone, right? He sees absolutely no one whatsoever. And so probably when Sadek sees absolutely nothing here, right, you're worried about, they must be flanking. And remember, Loud don't play a Sentinel on this map, so they don't know if a flank is going to come. But here's where I want to just point out that if Sentinels had done this, right, and they've got into this spot and they droned all of this and seen absolutely nothing, I can guarantee you one thing. They would not be just sitting here and doing nothing. Right? They definitely wouldn't just be sitting there and doing nothing. They'd be moving around. They'd be taking some space, and they'd probably be pushing something if they did suspect that, you know, someone was coming on the flank, which, as we can see, actually isn't happening. Now, Loud, I understand why they want to do this, because they want to play for Sadek's ult, right? So they want to play for the Sova ult, and so perhaps they're just feeling like that's the thing that will win us the round. But what happens in this round is it just shouldn't happen, right? So they end up actually darting for that flank, and again, the dart sees nothing. So maybe at this point, they start to realize that Sen are just perhaps a bit late to this, but again, they're just completely static, right? We've just picked our positions, and we're just gonna sit there, even though, you know, we could have probably taken some space here with the drone, or pushed CT, or just done anything potentially to just help us in this sense, because what's gonna happen is, Tenz is gonna TP here, and is able to stick it and get a kill. How has that been allowed to happen? How is that happening whatsoever? And also, I think that Sadek does go kind of a bit too far back here as well. He comes all the way back here for this Sova ult. But the thing is, you know, you've got to expect that QCK will die before they can get back here on you. And Tuis will know if they come down this way as well, right? So kind of, if you just chill back here, you can go for this Sova ult as well. Right, and there shouldn't really be a great way that they come to you other than this flank that you now are hopefully cleared with this dart.
Yeah, exactly, with that dart. Get around now, and that's a Hunter's Fury to add even more time pressure. Ult committed and stuck. Tenz is forwards, he wins his fight. That is ridiculous. Still with a paranoia, now to Showstopper. Seeking to commit this one. Where these players might be, but the first tap at least forces out the ult. Rocket flying. Again, clears the one, but on top of this corner, on top of the box, Tuyas has to reveal his hand, spraying it through, guarding, blocking, all the bullets, second, sticking, and he's won the round for his team. Despite the heroics of Sadek.
Let's finish then with round number 25 in overtime. And in this one, there's a couple of things. I mean, just based off this camera alone, so Tuyas had been playing in this angle quite often when Loud were on the defensive side. So I like this little adaptation here by Sentinels, this little camera in here that's just gonna, you know, be able to ping and just spot if he's in this angle. You see it just comes up there and gives them that information and, you know, pushes him back. Now, Sentinels also, they're gonna just make a bit of pressure in towards mid here, right? So these two, Tenz and Zekken, you know, they just walk up into mid, put this smoke across here, almost try and fake it. Now, I'm pretty sure that the idea here was pretty much they are going to go to A because, you know, why, you know, they just randomly shoot there, right, basically. And you see that Loud, you know, actually ping the map just here as well, basically telling them like, hey, keep your eye out on this. And I'm pretty sure that the idea was always just to come back towards A and, you know, just make Loud basically worry about this because they had made some noise there. So when they come towards this A site, and again, I like the Sentinels when they take this A site, again, they don't use that much utility, right? They just use a flash and a boombot there to clear the closest bit of these angles. And now, you know, they're kind of ready. Now, as we come in onto the site, they will use the nade. They will use Dizzy Flash in just there as well. But, you know, now they've taken the site, essentially, and they're still going to have quite a lot of utility, right, for this post plant. 10 still has 2 TPs in his flash. We still got Zelsis with a flash and a nade as well. You know, John's picked back up his camera and got a camera again for this, and he's got 2 cages. We got Sassy still with his mosh pit, and he's got the wingman to plant, and he's going to pick up the Dizzy flash again, so, you know, he's still got plenty of util. And again, Sentinels just come into a post plant where they have plenty of util. Now, this time, though, it is a bit different, because what's going to happen is Wingman is going to try and plant the spike, but it's going to get destroyed by a breach aftershock. And so things get a bit chaotic. Sassy puts down his mosh pit just here, as he now has to try and stick the plant. Cowanzine tries to hero play it and just decides, I'm going to win the round right here by just denying them the spike plant and, you know, just running in, getting a kill, and hopefully we win the round. Doesn't quite go his way, though. And then again, when we get into this post plant, just watch Sentinels be proactive again with multiple players pushing up, right, on their own. Loud actually deal with 10s very, very well here, you know, in this position. We talked about it already, because they go for this snake bite. They know that 10s is gonna, you know, they're ready for it this time, basically. 10s using this paranoia like this, and they're ready for it, and they deal with 10s very well this time. But again, Sentinel's proactivity, you know, really helps them in this round and enables them to win this round.
Pathing over to the top plant. Actually going down here, but sort of util. After shot, breaks it. 12 seconds. Time really against them. Snakebite drop down Loud. This is them with a chance to really gain some ground here. Swinging wide to punish. Cowanzine, he understood it as a wing con and just decided to take the risk anyway. 2 years, fake the TP back, and now they want to fight this one into the back of the site. Double face though, util Sentinels barreling through, finding their own timings. Gifted with it, spamming through. Sadak left in a 1v2.
Second making the wrap around to A-Link.
Sadak sticking this one half onto it, half onto the defuse. He's bought himself a little bit of time, a window potentially, but he just needs a kill, and he's not being given it. He's not being given it. No one will give him an easy one. And face together, it's Sentinels on 13.